Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to an ARK bonus little Saturday video. First of all, Happy New Year's Eve. Hope y'all are having a good one. And this video is just a ranking of all six of the story arcs. We just finished yesterday. We just finished up season 2 yesterday. I had a blast. It was a lot of fun. Playing season 2, we were playing for 10 months, and I really enjoyed the whole 10 months that we were playing. But yeah, this is overall a ranking, or in my personal opinion, my least favorite maps to my most favorite map. And opinions differ, which is perfectly acceptable. Leave a comment down below if you disagree with my choices. Leave comments if you agree. Feel free to say, hey, I think, this map should be higher up on the list because of XYZ, or I think this map should be lower on the list because of XYZ. And yeah, just feel free. This is a safe space. You guys can agree with me, disagree, just partially. I mean, it's all up to you, as long as, it's respectful. As long as you respectfully agree, respectfully disagree. But with that being said, we're going to start off with my least favorite map, which I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for this. But my least favorite map is Genesis Part 1. And I know what y'all are going to say. You never played Genesis 1 in your Season 2. How is it your least favorite map? I've played Genesis 2, Genesis 1. I've played Genesis 1 in my Season 1 playthrough. And there are several things that I don't like about it. There are some things I do like about it. It's not just horrible. I'm not going to totally trash it. There are some really cool things about it that I enjoy, but there are some things I definitely did not enjoy. Starting with the atmosphere of it. It was just, ARK over the years has become more and more sci-fi, more and more, I don't want to say like DC, Marvel, superhero, but you get what I'm getting at. And I think Genesis 1 is just, it didn't feel like ARK anymore. It felt like a completely different video game altogether. And it's still a good map. Don't get me wrong, it's still great. The graphics are great. All the creatures are cool, but the first thing I don't like about Genesis 1 is no flyers and no tech. I don't like that. I don't like that. I enjoy maps where flyers are allowed, and I enjoy maps where the tech chest piece that allows you to, that has the jetpack on the back of it. I like those maps. I like flying. It's easier to see things. And when you're on the ground the whole time, it just makes finding things a little bit more difficult because you have to deal with obstacles on the ground. And I guess that's what the devs were getting at. They wanted people to spend less time in the air, more time on the ground. But overall, I didn't really enjoy that. And the next thing I didn't really enjoy were the missions. The missions are fun, but it's not ARK. the missions, it's like, what am I'm not playing Ark. Ark isn't supposed to have missions. What? um it just did not feel like Ark. It felt like I was playing a different video game, which I didn't really enjoy that much. The missions were cool, but I didn't like doing that. I also didn't like some of the bosses when I played those, because I did the Corrupt Master Controller off camera, and I just didn't. It wasn't that. It wasn't fun. It wasn't that fun of a boss fight because of how quickly you can just get killed. I mean, sure, you can get killed really quickly in other boss fights, but the fact that you can get killed like 30 seconds into the fight, like 20-30 seconds into the fight, that's not cool. I think that's just a bit too much. And also you have to do quite a bit of grinding for the bosses. So yeah, that takes away. But what it does have going for it, the Ferox, of course. I love the Ferox, one of my favorite shoulder pads. Another thing it has going for it are the X variants, which are really, really cool. And I do like the graphics, and I do like the different biomes. They all look pretty cool. But it just didn't feel like Ark. So it's still a good map. But it didn't have that Ark vibe to me. But I still enjoyed it in Season 1. So I have nothing against it. I'm not saying don't buy Genesis, it's absolutely terrible. No, it's good. It just doesn't, if you've been playing Ark for a long time, it doesn't have that Ark vibe. So yeah, that's the reason it's 6th place. So Scorched Earth is 5th place. Scorched Earth is the first DLC, or the first paid DLC. The first DLC was The Sinner, which came out immediately after The Island. But Scorched Earth is the first paid DLC. It has a lot going for it and a lot going against it. First of all, it's a traditional Ark map. You spawn in, you have to craft up everything, you have to build yourself a little shack and slowly turn that shack into a real base. And the graphics are really good. And it has your traditional creatures. It'll make some creatures are easier to tame, like Thylacoleo. This is a really easy map because you don't have to worry about Thylacoleo jumping off trees and dismounting you. They're already on the ground. You just have to find them and lure them into a taming pen, or if you have a net gun from Genesis 2, use a net gun. But yeah, Scorched Earth, it's easier to get certain creatures, but the heat, Fortitude is a thing on this map. If you don't level up Fortitude, you're gonna die a lot. And also, another thing with this map, if you don't want to invest a lot of levels in Fortitude, you can build adobe structures, which helps out. But adobe structures are kind of expensive. They're not as pricey as metal, but they are a little more pricey than stone. Mainly getting that clay. Getting the clay is the hardest part, because that can be a pain. And then building a giant base out of adobe, that's going to take a long time. But yeah, that's a downside. Another downside that is that Scorched Earth favors lower level creatures, so finding those high level Rexes you need to take on the mana core, yeah, it can be. You're gonna have to be clearing out the area several times. Um, but the artifacts are relatively easy to get. The only downside, or yeah, the only downside to the artifact caves are having to deal with the golems and the bottomless pits that you can fall into. Those aren't really fun. But another thing that I don't really like about Scorched Earth is it's just one biome. The whole thing is a desert. Yeah, you have your little oasis at the obelisk, and you have a little cave that's not a cave that you can build in and, you know, bring flyers through, a little trench area. But yeah, it's all one biome, which can get kind of old after a while. So that's kind of a downside. So the big downsides for Scorched Earth: low level creatures, all one biome, and I can't remember that. Oh, the unique creatures, they can be a pain to tame, especially the Phoenix. The Phoenix only spawns in during superheat, and you have to tame it by heating it up several times, and it is a long tame. So if you don't find it the minute that superheat starts, you're gonna have to just find where the Phoenix turns to ash and just sit there and wait. So yeah, that can be kind of a pain. Plus the priciness of building structures, that's it. So low level creatures, pricey, the price of low level structures, all one biome, and for the people who care about the Phoenix, taming a Phoenix. So yeah, Scorched Earth, 5th place. So now for some more hate. Genesis 2 takes 4th place. And I know what y'all are going to be saying. You gave the Shadowmane 4th place? You gave our creatures 4th place? No. The Shadowmanes and the ARK creatures, by no means are they 4th place. They are absolutely amazing. What is 4th place, though, is, again, this is just like Genesis 1. It's really sci-fi. Yeah, it's more traditional of an ARK when you spawn in, but you already have a tech suit from the get-go that does not require element. So that kind of takes the fun away from slowly working your way up to tech. But yeah, plus you still have to do missions to tame the tech striders. You're on a spaceship, and you can clearly tell you're on a spaceship because the border walls are the windows of the spaceship. So yeah, plus Shadowmane taming, no one likes that. But Shadowmanes themselves are what ARK 2 or Genesis 2 has going for it. Absolutely love them. Plus the R Thylacoleo are amazing. The R Gigas are amazing. It's really cool. But the main thing I don't like is still just too much sci-fi. Yeah, and the boss fight, Rockwell Prime, he's just a lot. And the missions get really old really fast. So that's the downside of Genesis Part 2. That's why it's 4th place. Still just too much sci-fi for my taste. still just doesn't feel like you're playing ARK. But if it weren't as sci-fi, if those creatures were to somehow be incorporated into a map that was a little less sci-fi, like they are in Fjordur, I'd love it a lot more. So yeah, but it just doesn't feel like ARK to me. So that's why Genesis 2 gets 4th place. But again, what it has going for it are variants, shadow mains. Yeah, it's cool, but still too sci-fi for my taste. Extinction is an absolutely amazing map. It was, to me, Extinction should have been like the end to me. I think Extinction should have been the end. They shouldn't have gone any more sci-fi than they have from Extinction. I feel if Extinction, if this is where they cut off the sci-fi, then ARK would be much more appealing to some audiences. It's still really appealing to me. That's why I still play the game. But it's this is where you're like, okay, this is starting to get sci-fi, but it's not overwhelmingly sci-fi. So let's just cut it off at this. And I love the designs on the corrupt creatures, absolutely amazing. One thing I don't like is that you can't tame them, but again, that seems appropriate. Plus, there's a ton of organic polymer. Just go kill corrupt creatures, and their nodules serve as a substitute for organic polymer. But this map, what it has going for it, amazing fights, fighting the Titans, really fun. Doing the OSD minigames, super fun. Because they're not missions. They are mini games. It can get frustrating when a corrupt creature doesn't run up to you and you have to risk leaving the OSD to find it. That can get frustrating, but other than that, it's super fun. I love the mechs and the enforcers. Those are really cool. I don't like how expensive they are to craft, but overall I really enjoy them. Gas bags, really cool, but a pain to tame. The fact that you can tame the Titans is really cool, all except the King Titan. But the Ice, Forest, and Desert Titan, the fact that you can tame them, I really enjoy that. The only downside or negative thing I have to say about Extinction is just how expensive the vehicles, which are the enforcers and the mechs, are to tame. I don't like that. I also don't like how hard it is to get corrupted hearts, because from all my playing with them, Rexes, Wyverns, and Gigas are really the only 3 you'll get corrupted hearts from. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe Paracers? But yeah, Rexes, Wyverns, Gigas. Those are the most likely to drop corrupted hearts. You kill corrupted Calicotherium, corrupted Dillo, corrupted Pteranodon, they're not going to drop hearts. But the Rexes, the Wyverns, and the Gigas will. So that is a critique as well. I wish all corrupted creatures had an equal chance of dropping a heart when you kill them. And the other critique I have is that Oh, what was it? Oh, that you can't tame the defense units that roam around the city. Yeah, that'd be cool if you could tame them, but you can't, so. But I love Extinction because it has diverse biomes. It has the wasteland, the sunken forest, the city, the snow biome, and the desert biome. Which I really love how it has a diversity of biomes. Each biome has a creature that would naturally be unique to that biome, which I personally really enjoy. I personally think that's really, really cool how they did that. I also find it interesting how you have to go to a terminal. Instead of going to an obelisk to transfer off the map, you have to find a terminal. That's kind of cool how they changed that up. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Extinction. It has the most epic boss fight, defeating the King Titan, especially the Alpha variant. Yeah, I personally think this is as sci-fi as ARK should have gone, and this is perfect. I honestly really enjoyed this map. So second place, Aberration. It was honestly tough to decide between Extinction and Aberration. And here's why. Aberration, the fact that it is so hard to transfer off of this map if you are not playing on a server. If you are playing on single player, you cannot use the loot crates to transfer off. If you're playing on a server, you can. But single player, you have two choices. You can head up to the surface and transfer off by the obelisk, or you can head down to the Rockwell terminal, the boss fight terminal, and transfer off through there. And Aberration is a beautiful map. That's my first thing I love about it, is how beautiful of a map it is. The graphics are jaw-dropping. On the surface, in the green zone, in the blue zone, the red zone, absolutely amazing. Love it. The second thing it has going for it is just the aberrant variants. I really enjoy those. Yes, they do have what is it? I think it's like 5 or 6% less hit points than their vanilla variants, but more. But they deal more damage. I think 2 or 3% more damage. I can't remember. But yeah, just amazing. The only downside with the creatures, though, is this map favors the low levels. I forgot to say that for Extinction, but for Extinction, favors the low levels as well. But Aberration is just amazing. And the surface at night, yes, it is a pain in the butt if you don't have a light pet and a really good rock drake with lots of hit points, lots of stamina, and decent weight. But the loot you get on the surface is so good. I mean, with default settings, the loot can be so good. You can get amazing shotguns, amazing armor. You can also get amazing blueprints for a variety of different things. It's really cool. My main beef, as my voice got kind of squeaky there for a second. My main beef with Aberration is too many nameless and seekers, or the seekers having too many nameless and seekers and the fact that you can't tame them. If you could tame nameless and seekers, that'd be amazing. But you can't just knock them out. You can't passively feed them. You can't steal an egg like you have to do with the rock drakes. But you have to you can't tame them. So that's one thing I don't like about Aberration. The other thing I don't like about Aberration is the difficulty to acquire Reapers. And what I mean is that this map, as I said, favors the lower level creatures. So there are going to be a lot of lower level Reaper Queens. So you'll get your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. And you have to kill them and wait for higher levels to respawn. And you need a shoulder pet with you that will alert you to max level creatures being in the area. And on this map, I believe max level is like 120. So anything 120 or higher, your shoulder pet will alert you to, and you'll be like, oh, there's a 140 or a 150 in the area. You'll look and it'll be a 120. And you're like, that's high level, but that's not what I'm looking for. But Reaper Queens, they're really, really hard to get if you've never tamed one before. Taming a Reaper Queen, you're gonna die like 500 million times. But after you've had practice, then it becomes a little easier. The hardest part is just killing the lower level Reaper Queens, as well as anything that could interfere with the taming process. And the other thing that I kinda don't like about Aberration is the fact that in the blue zone you need to have a hazard suit. Because they do have spores, and the spores will kill you right quick. Everyone thinks, oh, it's the red zone where you need the hazard suit. No, you need it for the blue zone as well, because they have spores that will kill you. So that's also kind of a downside, as well as the eels. Too many eels, and they have jellyfish too. So that I kind of don't like. Getting the artifacts is a pain until you've had practice. Especially when you go in caves that have raptors, because the raptors on this map are aberrant raptors, and aberrant raptors can pin you to the ground. They pin you for like 5 or 6 seconds, and you're practically dead the minute they release you. So yeah, so that's the downside with Aberration. But the upside, so many amazing base locations. The verticality of the map is absolutely amazing. It seems like it's gonna be a challenge, but it's honestly not. I don't like that flyers aren't allowed. Any map that flyers aren't allowed, I'm not a big fan of, and Aberration is one of those maps. But Aberration has what Genesis 1 doesn't have, and that is rock drakes. Rock drakes are as close to a flyer as you're going to get, because they're gliders, and they are amazing gliders. And it takes practice when you're learning how to drive a rock drake, but once you learn, they're just amazing from getting to A to B. They'll get you from the hazard zone back to your base in the green zone in like 2 seconds. But yeah, Aberration, beautiful. I love the graphics. I love the diversity of the creatures, how they each have their own unique color patterns. But yeah, like I said, the only downsides are Can't tame the nameless or the seekers. Reapers take practice. A lot of eels, no flyers. But yeah, it has everything else going for it. Which leaves the first place map, the original island. Now, the reason the island is the original, a lot of people are saying, oh, of course it's going to be the original. It's like a case of a movie where you like the original's the best and everything. Normally, that's not really true with the video games I've played, but in this case, yes, the original island is my favorite. Because of the 4 different bosses. Extinction, you have 4 different titans, with the last one being considered a boss, the others just being considered titans. Here you have 4 different bosses. The first 3 are guardians, and the last one is the in-game boss, the overseer. And I love the island because even though Aberration is absolutely amazing, I went on for it for like forever, it has a lot of a sci-fi feel. Whereas the island, you don't get that. You don't get that at all until you go take on the overseer. That is the only time when you're going through the tech cave and fighting the overseer. And then when you're taking on the original guardians, the teleportation, those few seconds of teleportation, that's like the only sci-fi you really get. Everything else, it feels like, hey, I'm back in the age of dinosaurs, hey, I'm fighting for survival against things, in this video game that, believe it or not, once really roam this planet. Like, you can see the Therizinosaurus. They lived at one point in time, and you're like, this is so cool. These creatures that actually lived before us, we now have to fight, or we have to tame and breed for boss fights or whatever. It's really cool. And the island, it's just beautiful. It's nice and small. Well, it's not small, it's really big, but it's more natural. You don't have any fantasy creatures, you don't have any sci-fi creatures, except for the bosses. Okay, Megapithecus is like King Kong, so it's like a movie creature. Dragon is fantasy, and the Broodmother is fantasy also, because she's based off of that spider from Lord of the Rings that I'm spacing out on. And then the Overseer is AI. So, yeah. But, yeah, it's just real. It's so cool. And I absolutely just love it because it never gets old. Because you think, oh, I'm going to start another playthrough or another season. I'm starting on the island. I'm going to be doing the same thing I've done before. Well, yes, you do the same thing you do before. You build your starter shack. You tame some easy to tame things. And you slowly work your way up to bosses. But it's different because you're not building in the exact same location. It's different because you might be taming something you wouldn't normally tame until mid to late game, but you had the opportunity to tame it. And it's different because you get to explore and learn more and more about that map, because there are times where you're just not looking at the entire map. You're just like, okay, this is the part of the map I'm building my base. This is the only part I need to pay attention to. Maybe up towards the volcano so I can go get some metal and obsidian and crystal. But that takes away from it because you don't get to appreciate other parts of the map. It's just really unfortunate, but yeah, the island, damn right, anytime I start an official season playthrough, not like a little mini playthrough or a cluster or something, but an actual season playthrough, I'm always going to start there on the island. And it's always going to be super fun, super amazing, and I just absolutely love it. And I have no idea how long I've been rambling. So this is going to be probably a long video, which means I will have timestamps, and I'll probably put that at the beginning of the video to check the description for timestamps. But yeah, that's what I really have to say. My only big critique of the island, I did not give my critique. The only big critique I have of the island is that, unlike the other story arcs, it does not have a creature that is, well, actually it does have a creature that's unique to it, the unicorn. Because, yeah, the unicorn only spawns, of all the story arcs, only spawns on the island, I believe. The island, Ragnarok, and Fjordur, but of course Ragnarok and Fjordur are custom arcs. So yeah, that is not a valid critique. But my main critique is too much of my least favorite creature. Megalodon. Hate sharks. Hate them so much. I hate Megalodon and the Perlovia. If there were fewer Megalodon and fewer Perlovia on the island, I think that would be a little bit of an improvement. But there's so much of both of those, and the fact that the shark can do stuff, but it's not as tanky as it is in the wild. Perlovia can do stuff, but it's more of a PvP as opposed to a PvE, because one, you can't ride it, two, you set it to like aggressive to attack anything that wanders into your base. On my season 2 playthrough, I saw I had a parasaur spawn in my base right next to the Perlovia burrow, and it didn't attack. So I don't know what's going on with that. So, but anyway, hey, I hope you enjoyed my little ranking list. Like I said, timestamps in the description. Yeah, and with that being said, Happy New Year's to all of you. Have fun if you're staying up to watch the ball drop. Or if you, or whatever tradition y'all have. I stay up to watch the ball drop and make my New Year's resolution once it has. You know, that's just our family tradition. Whatever your tradition is, feel free to leave that in the comments as well as whether or not you agree with my lists. Are there certain maps where you're like, yeah, it does deserve, this place, or no, it should be a little further back, or it should be a little further to first place. So yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to ramble way too long and no one is going to watch it, but anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in 2023, which is just 12 hours from now. Alright, see you guys then. No, actually, I will see you in 24. I will see you guys in 48 hours because of the cluster that comes out on January 2nd. So I will see you guys in 48 hours. But still next year. Alright, see you guys next time.